Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Dan McQueen, a keynote speaker, former Hootsuite learning leader, and thought leader on navigating change. At just 28 years old, Dan's life changed overnight when what seemed like a routine eye appointment led to a discovery of a catastrophic brain hemorrhage. He underwent two emergency brain surgeries, spent weeks in a coma, and had to relearn how to walk, talk, and smile. Rather than letting that experience define him, Dan transformed it into a powerful message about confidence, resilience, and learning to navigate uncertainty. Today, he helps leaders and organizations build change confident teams by moving from the mindset of why me to try me, right? So, Dan, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Okay. So, Dan, I want you to take us back to your 20s, right? What was life like in your 20s and, what dreams or ambitions were driving you then?
Yeah, so this all took place back in jolly old London, England. I got
Mm,
a job in tech working for a company called Hootsuite.
mm,
Had recently got a promotion to an implementation specialist, kind of the rock stars of the company. Get to run your own program, run sessions for clients, and onboard them on the tool. It was a post-sale job, so I helped clients be successful on the platform and ramp up on the tool. Life was pretty fast and loose. Was playing lots of sports, five-a-side football, soccer in London, and then ball hockey on weekends. Then I started having these headaches. Headaches got progressively worse after a few weeks. Painkillers like candy for them. My head was pounding. Headaches
mm,
got so bad I was in the tube one day. The tube's how you zigzag around London, lumbering towards Notting Hill Gate tube station on the district line. Now that's a slow roll at the best of times. Headaches were so bad, my vision turned starry and I saw spots. Slowly started to fade to black. It was a race to see
mm,
who arrived at the station first, me or the blindness. Arrived at
mm,
Notting Hill Gate tube station, stepped onto the platform, mind the gap, and the lights went out. I couldn't see a thing, I was blind. I could smell everything, I could hear everything, but I couldn't see a thing.
mm,
I thought, how am I going to get out of this pickle? This is quite a conundrum I'm in. I wish I could say I had a thought of revelation to figure out how to get out of this situation. I did not. After the longest 3 minutes of my life, my vision comes back, and I carried on my day. But the next day, I went storming back into A&E. A&E is accident emergency in the UK, like ER in Canada, United States, and maybe in Africa as well.
mm,
I told
mm,
them what's going on with me. I was blind on a tube station in London. This is not normal. They ran some more tests, and again, they thought it was vertigo. They sent me home. On the way out, they told me I could always get my eyes checked by an optometrist. Optometrist, I thought, that's rather odd. But I'm not a doctor. I don't plan to play one now. Sure, why not? Next day, the headaches came back with a vengeance, and I found myself in Mr. Patel's chair. He was
mm,
midway through a routine exam when he stops the exam, excuses himself in the room, and comes back a few minutes later with a sealed envelope which he hands to me. He told me to go directly to Moorfield's hospital, which I did. Well, joy, tell a lie. I stopped at home first to grab a Jack Reacher book by Lee Child, a phone charger, and a bite to eat. Then I arrived at Moorfield's hospital, handed them the sealed envelope. They ran the same test there again. Then escalated me to Charing Cross Hospital. We're getting somewhere. I'm thinking, this is positive. This is a good thing. Now, it turns
mm,
out, Joy, I had a dangerous buildup of pressure in my brain caused from a non-cancerous cyst in my pineal gland. Turns out I
mm.
require emergency brain surgery tomorrow. Now, it turns out the world change altogether. So after a frantic back and forth with folks in Canada, the last text message my mom received reads, I'll see you soon, Mum. Think I'll have a new haircut next time I see you. Love, Dan. So Mum's in the air flying to London on June 21st, 2014. I'm on the operating table. Something goes horribly wrong. And I have a massive bleed in the brain, a brain
Mm.
hemorrhage. Then the cyst burst when they operated. Mum lands and finds me in critical condition. I was in a coma for 4 weeks, but was out of consciousness for months after this. When all of a sudden I learn how to walk, talk, and smile again. That's where the story kicks off, Joy.
Hmm. Well, oh, all right, Dan. I want to say thank you for sharing your story with us, right? But I would like to know, when you got this news, how was your reaction? What were the things going through your mind? How was that experience for you?
Before the surgery or after surgery?
With the diagnosis and then, after the surgery, what was it like before and after?
Before and after. So before I was a bit relieved to know that we knew what was causing the headaches because that was a mystery for a few weeks. And the headaches were
Mm,
really bad, so I was happy to know we at least knew what was causing them. That was a relief. And then when I woke up from the coma 4 weeks later, a bit in denial. This isn't my life. I was healthy yesterday. Of course, yesterday was 4 weeks ago yesterday. And then slowly coming to terms with this is my new reality now. And having to come to grips with like that new stark reality of, I've had a brain hemorrhage. I can't walk, talk, or smile. I'm in the ICU, and my life is not where I want it to be right now.
mm. Wow. Oh, all right, then. So I would, I would like for us to, talk about change, right? You often say the workplace doesn't have a resilience problem, right? It has an agency problem. So could you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, so agency for me is just the ability for people to feel they can impact and influence their lives. And I
Mm,
believe that with my whole heart because, well, I've leaned on myself tremendously to get back to where I'm at today. I had a lot of help as well. I don't want to make it seem like I did all this. I did not. But it was a belief in
mm,
myself and a belief that I could get back to the person I am, remembering who I am, that got me back from that today. Agency is your ability to dictate the terms of your life. And I think if we stripped away that from a lot of workplaces and organizations, we've just told them you do this, this, and this. Don't think for yourself, do what's on the script here. But
mm.
agency is so important for this. It gives them ability to control their lives and influence what they go through. I always say grab the reins and dictate how you want this to play out. And that's what you, with life and also with change and agency.
Mm. Wow. Ooh, all right. So, yes, and also your message encourages people to, move from why me to try me. So how can someone begin making that shift when life feels overwhelming?
Yeah, that's a good question, Joy. I think
Yeah.
you're gonna have the why me off the hop. I certainly did.
Mm,
This isn't fair. This isn't my fault. It's not your fault. You're right. But guess
mm,
what? It's your responsibility to get out of there. So when you flip the script of like, why is this happening to me to, try me, like bring it on, that's
mm,
a real unlock for your mind and like how you approach life. And you start looking for this struggles and strains to make you stronger, right? Don't wish it was
mm.
easy to make yourself stronger. I shared the story of walking into Broadway, which I could love to share for your group today. Would that be okay?
Definitely. Yeah.
So, Joy, have you been to London, England?
No, I have not.
Okay. So, Tooting Broad is an area in South London, an area they call up and coming. Think
Mm,
loud sirens, drugs, gangs. It's dirty, it's hectic, and boy, is it busy. I'm walking with a cane, I'm walking with an eye patch. After 4 months in a wheelchair, I'm literally Bambi on ice. I turn
mm,
the corner to walk on the high street for the first time, immediately get slammed into by someone. I stagger back a few feet. Someone else scurries past me on the right hand side. I thought I was done with the rats. Someone
mm,
had been stabbed on the sidewalk over here. I'm thinking, it's a pretty wild place to learn to walk. After a few days or so, I was thinking, this is the worst place to learn how to walk in the world. Can't they
mm,
see I'm trying to walk here? Can't they see I'm trying here? And then one day my perspective shifted. Maybe this isn't the worst place to learn how to walk in the world. Maybe this is the best. If I can walk here, I can walk anywhere. Now, Tunbo didn't change, right? It went from the worst to the best in my mind, and my mood reflected that. What are you looking at in your life you're
mm,
convinced is the worst? Convinced it's the absolute worst. Hey, maybe it is. Maybe you can find a way to turn down the suck a little bit, shift that perspective a little bit. Iron Mike Tyson famously said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Now, your punch may not be a brain hemorrhage, right? Facts. Will be a job loss, will be a breakup, will be a diagnosis for you or a loved one. You will take that punch in the mouth. How you respond? I'm offering a compass, not a map, but a compass. It always points towards true north. We're looking at things like mindsets, perspectives, and hacks. Hacks that allow your team better than yesterday, tomorrow. My name's Dan McQueen, and the reason why I told that story about learning to walk and tune Broadway is when you change the way you look at the world look at changes. And you don't need a brain hemorrhage to understand that. So I share
Wow.
that story to showcase the transformation from why me to try me. Tune Broadway is the worst. This is horrible. This sucks. But then it came the best because I looked at it differently. And that's what I'm saying you can do in your life is just flip the script of how you're looking at something. Is it the worst or is it the best? Maybe not the best, but it could be better than what you think it is. And that unlock made those walks tolerable. I began to look forward to those walks. Bump into me, crash past me, good, bring it on. If I can walk here, I can walk anywhere.
Wow. Like you said, change the way you look at the world, right? Change your viewpoint, and it could literally, help you live a much more healthier and peaceful life, right?
Exactly.
Wow. Wow. All right. So, I'd like for us to talk on, you being a keynote speaker, right? So before becoming a keynote speaker, you spent a decade at Hootsuite leading more than 8,000 learning sessions. So how did that experience influence the way you communicate and teach today?
Well, that's a very good question. I think a really pertinent one to help me with my keynote speaking because I used to train in EMEA, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So I had
Mm,
lots of clients in Africa, lots of clients in Europe, and in various countries where English was a second language, right? I can
mm,
speak quite quickly, as I'm sure you know, but it allowed me to kind of tailor my message for the audience I'm speaking to and deliver the value points that they want. Understanding what the client and what the audience needs to get from my talk, what their KPIs are, what the value proposition is, allows me to deconstruct how I give the message to them and fits what they want me to accomplish in the session. So training for over a decade at Hootsuite, I ran over 1,000 sessions training clients and running sessions for various clients in, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, which was a wide scope of clients with different
mm.
KPIs and different learning styles. So I learned to adapt my message to the groups and make them successful. It was a really interesting job, and I really enjoyed my time at Hootsuite. Big love for Hootsuite.
Wow. All right. Okay. I think that was a wholesome experience, honestly. And we are currently living in a time of constant change, with AI, new technology, social media, right, and uncertainty in many industries. So what mindset do you believe young professionals need to, thrive in this environment?
Yeah, good question, Joy. I think a growth mindset is very important to have. The ability that you can learn and grow and adapt and learn new things.
Mm,
I love this expression that I use, and I'll say it with you now. Don't wish it was easier, make yourself stronger.
mm,
Make yourself stronger to navigate the change in the changing workplace today. I mean, in the last year or two, like AI's really transformed how we view life and approach work. Don't rail against that. That's reality. That's the new world we're going to live in. Help use that to ride the wave, right? Don't fight technology. Don't fight change. Learn how to ride the wave of change that comes. And that involves getting your hands dirty, trying things out, and failing. You have to be okay with failure. Failure, my friend Rial calls it his first attempt in learning. I'm very okay with failing these days. What I'm not okay with is not trying, saying, I can't do this, this is too difficult. Now, Joy, to be truly transparent, I have said this in the past with technology specifically, because I don't want to learn this stuff. But more often than not, I try it out, and it gets easier as you go along. Don't wish it was easier, make yourself stronger.
wow. Oh, very important. Like you said, don't wish it was easier. Make yourself stronger. Wow. Okay. Now I've seen what I'm going to tell my next guest, right? Okay. All right. So yes, thank you for sharing, amazing, wonderful insights with us today. And I'd like to ask, right, looking back now, would you say your greatest setback ultimately became your greatest teacher?
Greatest feature, you say?
Yes, the greatest teacher.
Greatest teacher. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I would say it would be. I had a pretty life came pretty easy for me before this injury. Girls, work, sports, like I was pretty gifted at this stuff, or at least I worked hard to make it happen, but I didn't show that I worked hard. I pretended I didn't work hard, which is
Mm,
super annoying. But now it's like I don't care if you see me failing or railing against things because I want to show that I'm trying here. I realize that
mm,
effort's the most important thing you can have in life, and it forces you to try and fail and try and fail and try and fail. So I think this experience has taught me that hard work works. If you keep grafting, keep grinding, keep improving, you can find a
mm,
way through. When you give up, that's what I can't settle with. I can't say I can't do this anymore. I say like I haven't done it yet. And that's
mm.
a big takeaway for me. So yeah, my biggest teacher for sure.
Wow. Ooh, all right. So yes, thank you, Dan. This has been amazing, honestly. And finally, I want you to talk to someone out there, right? I've learned a whole lot of lessons from your story, and you've given us advice, but I believe you have more to offer, right? So for young adults in their 20s who feel anxious about the future or uncertain about their career path, what encouragement would you offer them?
That's a good question.
Mm,
I think if I could go back to my younger self before the brain injury and tell him one piece of advice before the injury happened that would set him on track for the rest of his life, it would be this. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. And I tell
mm,
that to young professionals as well. Pick a path, build towards that. If it doesn't work, you got to pivot and adapt. But it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it that matters. You're going to make mistakes in life. That's just life. You're going to make mistakes and failures and false steps, and that's just how it goes. It's your ability to rebound from those false steps and failures that will define your life. So get comfortable with failure, get comfortable with getting your hands dirty and trying things out. Try, that's the most important bit, as I will say in my talks. Try, that's the most important bit. So I think that would be the advice I would give the younger generation. And it's exciting time to be alive, right? Like we're doing
right,
this now.
right.
You're in Africa, I'm in Canada. This wouldn't have been possible 5 years ago.
Exactly. Wow. Ooh, like you said, get comfortable with failure and always be willing to try out new things, try out things. You never know, what would work for you. You never know what you would like, right? And I think a guest told me, how can you know what you like and what you don't like when you have not tried it out? So trying things out would actually help you figure out a whole lot of things. So yes, thank you, Dan. This has been amazing, honestly. And it brings me to the final segment of my podcast. I call it the rapid fire segment. You could either answer with a word or a phrase, starting now.
Okay.
All right. So what is one word that describes your 20s?
Loose,
What is one word that describes you now?
tight.
Hmm. Wow. Oh, okay. So what is a book that's influenced your thinking?
Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Hmm. How to win friends and influence people. Oh, okay. So what is a daily habit you never skip?
Cold shower.
All
I should
right.
clarify this. End the shower cold. End the shower cold, not a cold shower. End the shower cold is what I do.
Okay. All right. And finally, what is one phrase that keeps you grounded?
I've got a podcast myself, and the phrase that I use for the title of the podcast is called Play Loose, Look Tight. I want to describe that
Hmm.
what that means for you because it doesn't make much sense if I just tell you that phrase. So play loose,
Right.
it's a life mantra in 4 words. Play loose, joie de vivre, fun. Loose being the fun word, we're playing loose here. Conversely, you want to look tight. On time with your dress and demeanor, show up intentionally, dressed and prepared, ready to rock and roll. So play loose, look
Hmm.
tight. is how I dictate my life these days, and I think that's a good phrase to leave this on.
Wow. Play loose, live tight. Right.
Play
Wow.
loose, look
Interesting.
tight.
Look tight. Okay. All right. So yes, thank you, Dan. And finally, before you go, where can listeners get to learn more about you and also connect with you?
Sure, you can follow me on LinkedIn, Daniel McQueen or Dan McQueen. That's probably the
Mm,
best way, but also go to website mcqueendan.com, MACQUEN Dan.com. That's the best place to follow along with what I'm doing.
oh, okay. All right. And yes, as usual, I'll put the link in the show notes so it's easily accessible for listeners. And to my listeners, I want to say thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone you think might need this, and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes. Once again, thank you, Dan. You have a wonderful day ahead of you.
Thank you, Joy. You as well.
All right, take care.